Hi, my name is Cassie. I'm presenting to you in part of the Washington State Department of Agriculture. I work for the Plant Protection Program, specifically more the Pest Program, which would be the entomology branch. I'm presenting to you on Asian Giant Hornets, being the Asian Giant Hornet Community Outreach and Education Specialist. So today we're going to learn a little bit about Asian Giant Hornets, why it's important to care about them, and why invasive species could be a potential problem, and how it's important to protect Washington State from invasive species. So these are Asian Giant Hornets. They're originally from Japan and Korea. However, they made their way over here and in British Columbia, possibly by cargo container, we can't exactly say. They are an invasive species. They threaten our native bee population. They also threaten human health. There's a possibility of them impacting agriculture and outdoor worker safety. The bigger one over here is an Asian Giant Hornet queen. It's actually the only one that lives throughout the winter. Queens will overwinter, and in the spring they will emerge. They'll feed on oak tree sap as they begin to produce their new nests. Moving into the late summer, early fall, they'll start laying larvae and pupae. Workers will be seen. However, then as the fall nears the end, they start laying reproductive larvae and pupae. Then they have a need to eat some protein in their life. This could come from honeybee colonies. So it's very important to know what the Asian Giant Hornet looks like and what time of year it could be susceptible to your bee population. Asian Giant Hornets sometimes enter this thing called a slaughter phase. They will find a honeybee colony, mark it with a pheromone, and then use that pheromone to track it back to its nest. Once the Asian Giant Hornets enter the honeybee colony, they will decapitate the honeybees, drop them to the ground, and begin to feast on the larvae and pupae of the honeybees. They will occupy the honeybee colony until there's nothing left for them to eat. So your honeybee colony will be decimated. It's noted in Japan and Korea that an Asian Giant Hornet can decimate a honeybee colony between 1 to 6 hours. It's very important that we have the honeybees in our economy in Washington because they're very helpful with agriculture and pollinating and helping us produce much of our berries and fruits that help propel Washington's economy forward. The first Asian Giant Hornet report came out of Nanaimo, British Columbia. They were actually able to locate and eradicate this Asian Giant Hornet nest. However, in 2019 there are also reports of Asian Giant Hornet workers out of Blaine, followed by reports in 2020 of Asian Giant Hornet queens found in the Blaine and Bellingham areas. To date, there are 6 detections of Asian Giant Hornet in the Whatcom County area. So when you hear the term murder hornet, kind of rings an alarm bell. And as well as the large size and uncertainty of familiarity with Asian Giant Hornets, when you hear murder hornet, you're much more scared when you see something flying out in the area. So it's important to note the differences between some of our native insects, such as great golden digger wasps, cicada killers, horntail wasps, and other many beneficial insects in the area who can also have a little bit larger size than our normal honeybees. Asian Giant Hornets are rather large. You can recognize them by their bright orange heads, by their orange striped abdomen, and they're typically between 1.5 and 2 inches in length. These traps and this bait mixture were picked based on research coming out of Japan and Korea, as well as the availability to the general public and funding resources. So the mixture of the rice wine and orange juice is actually a great deterrent from some of our natural honeybees and native insects in the area, as well as it's easy to obtain and it's easy to manage with no chemicals added. It's very safe to the general public. An Asian Giant Hornet was detected in a Washington State Department of Agriculture bottle trap. After testing, this was determined to be a non-mated Asian Giant Hornet queen. It's known that in the future year, a nest can kick out up to 300 Asian Giant Hornet queens. However, some queens will go mated and some queens will go unmated. It's also noted that only about 30% of queens will survive throughout the winter. So the Asian Giant Hornet that was found was an unmated queen, meaning she can't produce a nest. However, there is the possibility that she has other nest mates in the area that could potentially be mated and produce a nest. If we happen to detect any more Asian Giant Hornets in the area, we will move into a different type of survey, hoping to find the nest, go back to its location, and eradicate it. When we're using our eradication, we have certain safety protocols we'll follow to help keep us and the general public safe.